On this Memorial Day, there could be no traditional parades and commemorations. We need to reflect on how the meaning of the day offers strength and comfort in a state afflicted by the deep grief of epidemic disease and loss suffered alone, rather than in the comforting solace of fellow citizens. For all who participated in services in Rollinsford, Dover, Somersworth, and Barrington in past years, it is profoundly evident that patriotic hearts beat strong in New Hampshire. Earlier generations of veterans in our American Legion and VFW posts take the lead in organizing the day, placing thousands of flags on graves, saying prayers, and firing salutes. They are joined by veterans of today's conflicts and current service members, marching bands, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, family members and citizens, and elected officials. Whether gathering at the Veterans and Civil War memorials in Rollinsford and Dover, or parading in Somersworth and Barrington, Americans are united at these moments to express our deepest love of democracy and to sanctify the memory of those who sacrificed to bequeath it to us. Yet today, the sense of loss extends to those grieving alone, whose eyes are tired from watering the grave without families and friends, for those isolated in nursing homes or ICUs, awaiting reunion and health in a restored land. Since 1866, when grieving families decorated the graves in the aftermath of the Civil War, we commemorate and celebrate those fallen in freedom's fight on Memorial Day. To truly honor that sacrifice, we need to renew the commitment in Lincoln words that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. To do so means facing some hard truths in 2020, as each generation must, by gazing into the dark glass of history to reflect on how we honor the sacrifices of our family members and all who served in the cause of freedom and equality. My grandmother remembered Decoration Day in the 1890s, when families spent the day in the graveyard decorating graves as the Grand Army of the Republic veterans marched by. And I recall the death of the last Civil War veteran, Albert Henry Wilson, on August 2nd, 1956, and that of Peter Mills in 1971, the last man born in slavery. The mystic chords of memory from these graves call us to remember what the Civil War was fought for, the founding American belief that all men are created equal. The sacred duty of memory is invoked on Passover to recall the cry of freedom from Egypt land, at the Last Supper to remember redemption's freedom, and we pledge to our flag freedom and justice for all. Dover remembers John Parker Hale, whose statue graces the State House lawn in Concord. And legislators and school children remember when they gather in the Hall of Flags with its blood-stained banners, environed by the portraits of Civil War heroes. Their eyes are deep pools of determination forged on an anvil of unspeakable loss. Theirs was a civil war over ensuring that deepest human dignity of freedom and equality extended to all, regardless of race, a belief without which our union could not then and cannot stand today. In subsequent wars, the threats were external, but the principle the same. My father was a Veterans Administration doctor for over 50 years, and I recall visits to the hospital when I was a young boy in the early 1950s. There were Chief Thunder, who served in the Indian Wars, veterans of the Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II vets in the annual wheelchair race down the long haul, young Korean War vets, and later Vietnam. In my family, I heard stories of a great uncle gassed to death in the World War I trenches. My grandfather, captain of the O-10 submarine based in Portsmouth, also afflicted by mustard gas. And my father and uncles in World War II. These veterans knew their fallen comrades did not die for party or politics, but for America's heart and soul. And as we fight today a new enemy in a war to which all citizens are called to service regardless of their background, our democracy must rise up to ensure that those who have lost their livelihoods, those who risk their health working in grocery stores or emergency rooms, those without health insurance, those with hungry children, will be part of the victory won over this epidemic. What would these Civil War dead ask the better angels of our nature today? They might ask, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Or ask, are we vigilant against freedom's foes, foreign and domestic? Or do we still dream of the unending quest of liberty, of a land where all can sing, my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing, land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. On Memorial Day 2020, let us remember and proclaim, in the words of Martin Luther King Jr., let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. In the stillness of this memory, let us hear the voices rising from the sacred dust. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on.